Welcome to Humphreys of Henley TV, countryside concierge at its finest. Now, you might be forgiven for thinking that I was in the heart of the Champagne region in France, but no, we're at the Fairmile Vineyard, this beautiful hillside just on the outskirts of Henley-on-Thames. And we're here at a very exciting time because earlier this year, one of their sparkling wines was nominated by Decanter Magazine, the recognised voice of the wine industry, as being outstanding. This maiden vintage beat all of the well-established wines from the vineyards across Kent and across the countryside. So it's an amazing achievement for the first ever vintage. And it's wonderful to be here because Jan and Anthea, the owners, really take the approach that this is a Chilterns, it's a business at the heart of the Chilterns. It's all about lifestyle, it's all about giving back. And they've created this fabulous environment, not only growing award-winning wines, but really becoming part of this whole area and the growth of the Chilterns, which is, as you know, very close to our hearts indeed. And now you can see the amazing 12,000 vines that are parked on this beautiful hillside just on the way into our lovely little town of Henley. Now, this is a sparkling wine that will grace any table anywhere and is certainly to be enjoyed through these hot days of the summer that we've had so far, and putting up with lockdown as well. So you can sit here with the vines as your backdrop and the sun in your face, sipping your delicious glass of sparkling wine while enjoying your picnic and realising how incredibly special the English countryside really is. Now, for the uninitiated like me who aren't used to running a vineyard, I've been walking through the vines thinking, aren't they all incredibly beautiful, and look at all of the grapes, and isn't it wonderful that they all grow by themselves? Well, I have been corrected for that little mistake, because as you can see behind me, teams of people are constantly nurturing and looking after the vines. This team here are cutting away the immature grapes that will never become big enough to be used for the wine. So with 12,000 vines, that's a heck of a lot of work on a daily basis just to make sure that they produce this fabulous award-winning wine. So you now have a slightly different view of the beautiful Fairmile Vineyard, and I am delighted to be here with part of the partnership. Jan Mirkowski and his wife Anthea set this up a few years ago, and we're going to hear more about that. But cheers, Jan, thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. And here is a taste of his wonderful sparkling wine, which is really rather wonderful. And he's just described that colour as the colour of an English summer, and I think that sums it up perfectly.
Yes, you can taste the strawberries and cream in it, can't you?
You can, yes you can, absolutely, that's glorious.
We're so proud of the colour, we put it in a colourless glass bottle to show it off. It's a beautiful salmon pink.
And that's quite rare, presumably, for sparkling wines?
Yes, the trouble with putting wine in a clear bottle is it can oxidise. If you were to leave it on a brightly lit windowsill for several months, it could start to turn brown. So a lot of rosé just comes in a green bottle, and it can be a disappointment when you pour it out and you find it's a very insipid colour, or the other extreme, it's the colour of Ribena.
Yeah.
But we think we got the colour right. I mean, judge for yourself.
No, I think the English summer is well summed up in that glass, which is wonderful. So Jan, can you tell us a little bit more? It's been wonderful hearing about how all of this started and so on, and your passion for what you're creating it just shines through, which is glorious.
Yes, well, every vineyard has a story, and in a nutshell, our story began in 2012. I'd been making wine as a hobby for many decades, and I said to Anthea I'd like to give up my career in telecoms, gallivanting around the world in a car and staying in hotels, and settle down and turn a hobby into a profession. And Anthea absolutely supported me, and we bought this wonderful tract of land you see behind. In total, we have planted out 7.5 acres,
right,
which is 3 hectares, 12,000 vines. We had to do a bit of preparatory work first, getting it deer fenced, rabbit fenced. If you're from Henley, you will know why was necessary, and we spread a lot of compost to manure the ground, get it fertilised. And then finally the big day came in May of 2013. We planted 12,000 vines.
Wow.
And they are the same variety of vines. They even came from a French vineyard, the same sort that go into a well-known French sparkling wine.
Oh, yes, yes.
We're not allowed to call ours champagne in this country.
No.
But having said that, we've got Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay.
Fantastic.
And of course, when you plant vines, you've only got a little tiny stump sticking out of the ground for the first few years. So we weren't able to pick our first harvest till 2015, which was the third year of growth of the vines. And even then, when you've picked the grapes, it takes 3.5 years to turn the grapes into top quality sparkling wine. It's quite a long process.
It's a long investment of time and money to get to this point. Now, location-wise, I know obviously there's this same chalk stream, isn't there, running through the country because everyone thinks of Kent as being the wine growing area. So, what made you choose here?
There are two factors that made us select this site. As you say, the chalky, flinty soil goes across southeast England, over the downs up to the White Cliffs of Dover, then it goes under the English Channel, and it's the same on the other side in northern France. And the other big thing is climate change. We now have the same climate that the Champagne region had during the 1970s. So that's what's made it possible to grow these quite tricky grapes. They're not the easiest variety to grow in England, and you're right, we're still very borderline, very marginal. We just about get enough hours of sunshine to ripen them and produce lovely, flavoursome grapes that are perfect for sparkling wine.
And you've got a fabulous south-facing position here. So, because I was reading, so those extra few hours in the evening as the sun is setting must be all important.
Particularly when the grapes are ripening in September, you can feel this lovely sun on our faces now. Well, it tracks round throughout the day, and it's fairly low on the horizon in September. So it's just above the hills over there, and it almost comes in at a slant and gives us about 30% more sunlight than if we just planted vines on the flat ground at the bottom. So that's the key to it. It's location is critical with vineyards.
Yeah, I can imagine. And really exciting about the award from Decanter Magazine earlier this year. That must have been quite an amazing feeling.
Well, nobody was more dumbfounded than Anthea and myself. It was one of our wine merchants. He talked us into it, and I said, "You really think our wine is good enough? It's only our first vintage, what we call our maiden vintage." And he said, "Yes, Jan." He said, "I think your sparkling wine is the nicest English sparkling wine I've tasted." So we sent some bottles off to Decanter. They only judged sparkling white. Rosé wines weren't eligible for the competition, but I'm sure if it had been, our rosé would have done equally well. It comes from the same stable. And suddenly, at the back end of last year, the phone didn't stop ringing off the hook, and we understood that we'd done extremely well in the Decanter Award. In total, they tasted 53 white English sparkling wines below the price of £50.
Right.
Including all the famous big English names that you and your clients may have heard of. And a lot of them were recommended, a lot of them were strongly recommended, but only one was judged outstanding, which is this one here.
Well, I hope you opened a bottle of this one fabulous wine to celebrate.
It's much too precious to waste.
Oh, it was still definitely worth celebrating though, which is lovely. And also very much, and this really rings true for us, of your passion for the area and the Chilterns and so on. And I love the fact you have a link with Gorvet and Stone, the fabulous chocolatiers in Henley, and it's a labour of love, isn't it? Apart from producing the beautiful wine.
Well, we're very proud of our association with Henley, which is why we've conspicuously put Henley on Thames over the label, and our logo is a rowing oar crossed with an exploding bottle of fizz. And one of the strange aspects is the sign that welcomes you to Henley is actually still a few hundred metres up the Fairmile Road there. So we are within the town boundary. By the very nature of them, vineyards all over the world tend to be tucked away in the back of beyond somewhere, down a farm track or somewhere. So we're very fortunate to be within walking distance of the town, and we often have visitors come up. They wander up from the town centre and visit us. Earlier this week, I was running cases of wine down to one of the hotels in Henley. Some visitors had done some tasting, really enjoyed it, but they weren't capable of carrying great boxes back to the hotel. So I said, not a problem. I'll just run them down.
Bring them down. Oh, that's brilliant, and that's what it's all about. I think all of this, us all working together, because we want more and more people, I think, just to realise how incredibly special this place is. And on that note, you can host some of our clients to a rather lovely picnic and wine tasting up here. This is the very spot, isn't it? So what sort of thing can they enjoy when they come?
Well, I think there's nothing nicer on a lovely sunny summer's day than sitting up here, sipping a glass of wine and overlooking the very vines that the wine came from, and knowing that it hasn't done too many food miles. And we've even had visitors up here on a chilly winter's day. We light up a brazier to keep them warm, have a little fire pit going, and just sit here and admire the wonderful view over the Fairmile that you see over my shoulder.
Yeah. Horrible fly. And yeah, I think, we've talked about linking it up with some sort of lovely foraging experiences close by, having a lovely lunch, and then coming over here for a lovely glass of pink fizz and an afternoon tea, which is very English and very appropriate for Henley, I think, isn't it?
Yes, you don't normally think of England as being a great wine producing nation, but it's certainly a growth industry for us, driven, as I say, mostly by climate change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more and more people are doing what we're doing and setting up sparkling wine vineyards, and doing very, very well as well.
So how many bottles do you think you'll produce this year?
Looking at it, I think we'll be good for upwards of 20,000 bottles. It's always hard to estimate, because of course some vines bear more fruit than other vines, and I don't have the time to go through and count them all, but I would say 20,000 and upwards.
Fantastic. So that's lots for all of us to enjoy, which is perfect.
Well, you know that if you have a picnic in a vineyard, it's the one place the wine isn't going to run out.
Wonderful. Jan, thank you so much. It's been a real treat. So please let us know when you would like to come and visit the Fairmile Vineyard. We will put on the full afternoon tea or lunch, whatever time of day is appropriate, and most definitely a glass of pink or the white, whichever is your preference. But you can see what an amazing spot it is for a glorious picnic. So thanks so much for joining us. Please like and share, subscribe to the Humphreys YouTube channel, and we really look forward to seeing you next week, when we are going to be sharing the delights of Salisbury with you, which we're really looking forward to. Have a great weekend.